When most people think of a heterosexual relationship, they will automatically picture the man as a taller, older, muscular breadwinner, whilst the woman takes the younger, petite, and obedient role. Or even if we were just to consider typically masculine and feminine attributes outside the lens of a relationship, the same expectations will often arise. This is the way that media has depicted gender roles for years. This concept, put simply, is the ideal of big men and small women. As a tall woman who has often felt as if I'm judged or considered undesirable because I do not fit into society's ideal of a short, petite woman, I've often been hyper-aware of the molds which men and women are expected to fit into and how detrimental the impacts of these expectations can be. I think almost everyone in this room will have experiences where they've noticed the effect or enforcement of this concept. I know I have when I've stood in groups of shorter peers and had the lingering feeling that, for some reason, the fact that I'm taller than them means that I'm unwelcome, even if logically I'm aware that this notion is far from the truth. Having noticed the negative effects of this concept and the potential it has to open doors to feelings of inadequacy, judgment, and a myriad of mental health issues, I would like to shed a light on its existence so that we can all become more aware of the implications these expectations and stereotypes have in order to work towards dismantling the romanticization of big men and small women for this generation and those which follow. So, where did this expectation of taller men and shorter women begin? Many researchers would point to our ancestral roots. In prehistoric times, survival often depended on physical strength and the ability to protect and provide for one's family and group. Bigger, taller individuals were often perceived as stronger and more capable of providing protection from predators and other threats. Thus, taller men have historically been seen as more desirable mates due to their heights signaling these favorable attributes to potential partners. According to evolutionary psychologists, these constructs have been somewhat hardwired into our minds, governing most human behavior to this day and setting the groundwork for the attraction of big men and small women. The way in which society is structured sets rigid roles for both men and women and what it truly means to be considered masculine or feminine. The romanticization of big men and small women can be seen in, and is enforced through, many facets of modern-day society and media. During the filming of Casablanca, 5'8" Humphrey Bogart wore 3-inch wooden platforms on his shoes in order to appear taller than his co-star, Ingrid Bergman, who stood at 5'9" tall. Similarly, Tom Cruise, standing at 5'7", often wears boots with thick soles, adding several inches to his height, accompanied by many other production tricks in order to make him appear taller. Cruise is known for his roles in action movies, and so it may seem explicable why directors would want to make him appear taller and more intimidating than the average man, although it cannot be ignored that this still seems to enforce the idea that real men are tall, perpetuating that being shorter than a woman is unmanly, and, on the flip side, being taller than a man is unwomanly. These standards are what create within men the desire to be perceived as manly. Being manly means being powerful, strong, respected, and it is arguably instilled within men that their purpose in life is to become perceived as such. However, this doesn't answer the question as to why society glorifies petite women. It seems strange that, with the modeling and fashion industry playing such a vital role in setting the beauty standard, and the average model standing at 5'9" tall, the idea of a shorter woman towered over by a man almost double her size is still romanticized. Like men, women are also socialized from a young age to conform to societal expectations of femininity. Thus, for many women, feeling feminine is closely tied to their sense of identity. Being petite is often associated with beauty, grace, and elegance, all traits which are also psychologically linked to femininity, suggesting why, despite models' trademark tall heights, the romanticization of a petite woman still exists. In an essay for Esquire, Anne Friedman writes that women have internalized the message that it is better for us to be smaller. To be bigger than a man is to worry that you'll turn him off. She attributes the ingrained female attraction for taller men to a sweeping prejudice masquerading as a sexual preference. The romanticization of big men and small women can have many detrimental impacts on many facets of life, most notably men and women's mental health. Standing at 5'10", no matter how hard I try to look feminine, I often feel as if I am just pretending, thinking that my height makes me look more masculine in comparison to shorter girls, who are often seen as cute and feminine. There have been a number of times where a well-meaning adult has said to me that boys are just intimidated by my height, solidifying the perception that taller is mannish. Taller is something different that people around me are scared of, at least in women. Or even when people try to comfort me by assuring me that I'm tall enough to be a model, this just seems to suggest that my height is only beneficial to me if I am able to meet the other standards of a model, a perfect, symmetrical face with a slender, proportionate figure. The same can be said for shorter men. It's normalized that mocking men for being short is acceptable, and not many would do anything to refute such comments. Along with this, shorter men are commonly taken less seriously, patronized for their height, and completely ignored or dismissed by both men and women simply because of their height. Social expectations of the molds that men and women should fit into have, particularly recently, gave rise to an era of so-called self-help gurus, aiming to teach both genders what they should do in order to make themselves as marketable as possible to the opposite sex. Making content cater towards a male audience, a recent notable figure in this space is Andrew Tate, a self-admitted misogynist who found fame on TikTok by flaunting his extravagant lifestyle and sharing tips and tricks on how to date women. Tate tells men, if you're 5'2", you need to become strong and rich and charismatic in order to succeed in life. Tate gained his initial influence under the guise of inspiring young men who have felt the negative impact of pressure to meet society's ideals, only to lead these men down a path of aggression towards women, teaching them to solely blame women for the romanticization and consequent pressure to meet the expectations of a tall, muscular, powerful man. Similarly, Pearl Davis, known as Just Pearly Things Online, has been dubbed a female Andrew Tate by the likes of Piers Morgan. Davis frequently panders to anti-feminists and the dominant male narrative, all whilst putting down fellow women with outrageous statements, such as claiming that women shouldn't be allowed to vote because they are too emotional, and that there's never an excuse for divorce, even in the case of domestic violence. Davis plays a hand in pushing society's unattainable standards onto young women and suggests that, as a woman, squeezing yourself into the bounds of society's ideals is the only way to become truly happy and successful in life. Together, we can see that this new age of self-help media exacerbates and exploits the negative effects felt by young people due to the romanticization of big men and small women. The popularity of such hateful content shows that the strict standards that young people are held to in today's society makes them more susceptible to hateful ideology and prejudice. So, knowing the damaging effects of this concept, what can be done to attempt to dismantle it? I think the first step is focusing on your own way of thinking. There have already been steps taken on social media, particularly through the body positivity movement, promoting that there is no one right way to be masculine or feminine. Applying this knowledge in our daily lives and trying not to criticize or talk badly about our own bodies can help us to foster the self-love needed to realize and wholeheartedly believe that pushing yourself into society's expectations of you can only bring more harm than good to your mental health and confidence. Once we begin thinking critically about the expectations society tends to push onto us for ourselves, we are already taking major steps towards breaking down these expectations within society as we foster a more open and accepting view of the world around us. Leaving this talk, I encourage each of you to speak kindly to yourself as a reminder to embrace your authentic self and uplift those around you. Together, we can work towards changing the leading dialogue surrounding gender roles in order to dismantle the romanticization of big men and small women for ourselves and those around us.